Level 4 of My Little Underground is on and running. It's Peter A here. Subscribe on iTunes, please, if you will, and on Podomatic, or you can check it out on my website, peteraradio.us. Now, my guest today is a very, very special one. I've been wanting to talk to this one for a long time. Well, at least, when I started thinking about starting this podcast. Her name is Showtime Goma. You might know her best as Jen Goma of Sunny Day in Glasgow. Her debut album, Smiley Face, easily one of my favorite albums of 2017. Stunningly gorgeous. Welcome, Jen.
Hi. Wow.
How are you doing?
Cool intro. Great. Doing really good.
Yeah.
Very happy to be here.
Yeah. Are you a morning person?
That is such, I wish I had a consistent answer. I do like the morning a lot, but I also like the very late night a lot, which makes the morning harder. So, big fan of all times of day, as it turns out.
Yeah. I like the morning. I do love the morning.
Yeah.
It's just, that's when I kind of find myself. That sounds cheesy, but that's when I have the most energy in the early morning. Mm-hmm. That's when I feel motivated to do stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's when I want to go run. That's when I want to, research some stuff, for bands to interview. That's when I do a lot of thinking.
Yeah,
I guess I'm so conditioned from coming from schooling most of my life. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's where that comes from. So you've been pondering retirement or throwing retirement into a lot of your social media posts. What's that been about?
Well, that was a location-specific joke that I was making because I was in Florida with my sister. And I did have 2 shows this week. So, just kidding. Not actually going to retire. But, it's sort of fun to look at other walks of life. And I was surrounded by a lot of people who were retired. And, just sort of imagining what that would be like to live as a retired person. But I actually don't have the ability to retire at this moment. And I wouldn't want to. I really love my work. So.
Yeah, because some people find misery when they retire because they've been, they dedicated their lives to their work. You know what I mean? So
I retired for 3 days, and I can say that I didn't like it. I love my work. I'm so happy to be back.
So the retirement was kind of like a vacation from your routine of music or your day job or what?
Yeah. It was a retirement from my music making, but also just a complete departure in terms of what I'm used to culturally. And but it feels familiar sort of to be in Florida because I was born in Hawaii and I grew up in Arizona. So they're very much tourist attraction, tourist-based economies. So I relate to those kinds of strange places, but it's hard for me to have a good time there because to me it's just day-to-day life because that's what I grew up in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but isn't New York becoming that, or is that? Because I would say Times Square is kind of a touristy kind of culture.
And I do go to Times Square very often.
Yeah, as do I. Not as often as you may, but sometimes.
Well, now that they've closed down my favorite bar there, Times Scare, which was the year-round haunted house bar, it's hard to find as many reasons to go there. But I'm actually planning on going there tomorrow to see Annihilation, just to timestamp this. Annihilation. It's Annihilation opening weekend. The weekend after Black Panther.
Oh, yeah. Did you see that?
I did.
Oh, fantastic.
Great times. It's the closest I've ever sat to a movie screen because I went 2 days ago because I was in New Orleans when it came out, and it was all the theaters were sold out. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to wait a week and see it next week. But then even when I went 2 days ago at 10:40 at night, it was almost completely sold out. It was crazy. I had to sit in the second row from the screen. So it was pretty insane, super loud.
Yeah, most theaters around me were sold out too.
I know, amazing.
I lucked out.
So cool. That's
I was happy about that, but I was I was a little annoyed, but it was a good feeling that a movie like this was sold out.
I love that it forced me to sit that close to the screen and, to hear people yelling and clapping, and it was great. I had a great time.
Easily one of my favorite scenes is when T'Challa was battling for the crown and to see all the tribes.
Are we spoil? Are we doing any spoilers here? No, not really.
If you haven't seen the movie now, it's your fault. But when he's battling for the crown in the beginning, you see all the tribes and they're kind of singing this kind of tribal anthem. I love that.
Yeah,
that
it was
so beautiful.
That part was really, really beautiful. I mean, if you liked that, you should do that, 6 feet away from the screen. It looks like way taller if you're that close.
Yeah. It was kind of like listening to a record on vinyl. Being there and hearing the Dolby surround sound as far as, let me wait till the bootleg or then it comes out on Netflix.
Yeah.
Some people I've asked about the film have told me that I'm going to wait till, I can buy it at a barbershop for $5.
No, don't wait.
Yeah.
Don't wait. Go see it now.
You got to support an opening weekend.
Come on. Be part of the time.
Right. Be part of the movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you're like a perfect definition of an artist because like you say, you see no difference between music and, doing the theater. And, you score music, too. You do a lot of different, endeavors, which I respect. So when you score something, is it almost the same process of just recording your own music, or do you come at it from a different thought process?
Yeah. To me, I think it's very different, but it's like definitely hard to articulate. It's different because I think for me, I feel very like comfortable in art situations. So like to me, something like a play or a movie or a musical, I don't know, I just see that as like different forms of like expression, and I feel very comfortable in those settings. They don't catch my eye like in a way. So you're seeing what I do and saying like, oh, I see these things, and to me, I think I see them and I think, oh, right, those are just options, But I think ultimately, like where things come from me generatively are actually totally outside of like an art brain. Like they're very personal and like colloquial, and like that's I think why I identify with pop music, because like there's like a utility to it and like a time sensitiveness to the idea of like pop music, So I think where the idea to make anything comes from in me is like very personal and human and not necessarily meant to be quote unquote art, but like the language that I'm most well versed in is like music and art, and so I use those mediums to express myself. But like the impetus to make something, it's like if I knew how to do something else, I would maybe do. Does that make sense? Like it's not like I go to make music because I'm like, oh, this has to be music. It's like I have an idea and then I'm looking at what I know how to do. And I'm like, oh, music would be good for this idea, or maybe actually something visual would be nice, or maybe a movement thing would actually be better for this form of expression. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just like a palette, I guess.
Yeah, going back to what I said about you, you're an artist as a whole, and then whatever idea thing you have, you can apply it to whatever you're most familiar with. Yeah, I totally get that.
Cool.
So so it's like when you're writing a song that's for your project versus writing a score that's for another thing, there's no different process of how you go about doing that.
I think there definitely can be. I think it depends on like where I'm at and what I'm using the process for, because like I've definitely felt like, oh, composing something for this like really needs something that's outside of my wheelhouse. So especially if I'm learning something new, it's probably just going to come from a really similar place in me because I'm trying a new thing. But if I'm going for something really specific, right, like a commercial music or something like that, that is a lot less like of myself, because I'm like, oh, I'm just using some tools that I know work in this way, and then I feel like I'm more arranging,
Right.
Like I'm arranging chords, arranging melodies to meet. I don't know. Yeah, it's way more like architecture than it is like expression.
Right. That's a good way of putting it. Tell me about your work with Memory Retrograde.
You've done your homework. Christine Haruna Lee, who is the playwright of Memory Retrograde and has in the past directed other iterations of it, but this past, the two most recent productions at Ars Nova and at the Under the Radar Festival, Andrew Scoville directed them, and she was in the play. But Christine and I are collaborators. We're in the Soho Rep Theater Writer-Director Labs together. But this was the first piece that we worked on together of hers, which started a little over a year ago. We had worked together in a workshop where I was composing music and she was just acting in the workshop. And then she was like, oh, I have a play. And I read it and I really, really liked it. And we definitely were driving on the same ideas about memory and time and how those elements contextualize how we see ourselves as people in the present, and how we see ourselves in the present is related to who we've been in the past and who we want to be in the future. And so anyway, that is a play that I have composed original music for. Yeah.
It sounds more like an art installation than a play.
Interesting. You should come see it. I mean, it's definitely experimental in nature, but I think that you could call it whatever you want. We just call it a play because, that's the best thing to call it today, but maybe in the future, there'll be a better name for it that is more akin to an art installation or something like that. But it has a narrative, and it has, which I think maybe is what is a key element to a play. There are absolutely things that are supposed to happen in specific succession that tell a story and are supposed to be, evocative of an unfolding understanding, which is sort of less experiential than an art installation.
Because how I look at that, like a regular play is kind of like a pop song: verse, chorus, verse, narrative, story, characters, beginning, middle, end. And because the best play I've ever seen was Five Girls Wearing the Same Dress at Adelphi University on Long Island. It was fantastic. And the story was not like anything I've seen in a play before, but it was a play in and of itself: beginning, middle, end, story, characters, and,
dress,
and costumes and all the whole nine. But what you're
gotta have
about
costumes if you're gonna do a play.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. That's really cool. And I've always enjoyed plays more than musicals, because I just love the dialogue and the conversation and the storytelling. So your album Smiley Face, you worked with Greg Saunier. Am I saying that right?
Saunier, yeah.
Saunier, okay.
You can say Saunier though.
Of Deerhoof. So what was that relationship like?
Greg and I have been friends for a long time, and we've worked on music together before. And with Smiley Face, I really wanted to. My dream was to work with a different person for each of the 10 songs, and that didn't happen. But I worked with 3 different relationships. So one was me and my bandmates from Sunny Day. We worked on a song together. And then 2 of the songs were me and Shahzad Ismaili, who is a Brooklyn musician. And then the rest of the songs were me and Greg in conversation, working on the music together, because I wanted there to be a conversation, and a way in which the collaborations, fucked up the ideas that I had on my own. But once Greg and I started hanging out, we were both just in this time and place where we had the time and we had the energy, and he is so busy and I'm busy in my own right. It's kind of amazing now to look at the time that we had together, because we didn't exactly plan it, but it was there. And so we just kept going. We just kept working on the songs, because I brought him a few and he's like, but what? I want to hear more. And so we just kept working on them together. That's how it came to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, particularly I love the Secret NRG video.
Thank you.
It was like everything we've been talking about your performance side. and you said that it explores the way we practice death while we're alive. What do you mean by that?
So to me, the story there was about potentially, these scenes that were these pictures that were so concerned with communicating an image that they were afraid to move, because they're like, well, when someone looks over, I want them to see what they're supposed to see, which is, me in this pose, or me looking like I know what I'm doing. And to me, I think that holding on to a fixed understanding in that way of what you think you're doing actually stops you from moving forward in time and actually living your life. And so I think that you have to let go of poses that you've been holding, understandings that you've been holding on to, and just say, this is not my last good pose. This is not my last good understanding of what's going on. And I need to get into ugly positions, or potentially even more beautiful positions moving forward, and achieve more beautiful understandings or uglier understandings. But I can't just stand still. And I think it's hard for people to let go of anything that they like about, the pose that they're holding, or anything they like about what it is that they understand about the world. It's hard to let that go. But I think that life is a cycle of loss. And so that is the practice to me, is to say well, let go and understand that it's going to get worse, but it's also going to get better. But just practicing letting go for the big letting go, which is, dying.
Wow. Oh, wow. And I kind of apply that to my life too, because I never think I'd fit into commercial radio ever. And I found a place for myself in that realm. And that's part of just growing and evolving. And it's basically a way of, you're saying that, routine, being stuck in a blind routine, fixated routine is death, which is that's so interesting.
If you're not growing, you're dying.
Truth be told. And you directed this by yourself, and you've also said that you want other people to fuck your ideas up, meaning you just open to collaboration. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I got to make that video with my friend Corey, who has a vintage clothing company in Arizona called Luxy Vintage, and so we've been friends since we were 16. So we've gone through a lot of cycles of change and loss together, and we really gravitate towards expression through aesthetics, because she is somebody who works in fashion, and she also designs all the looks that she photographs for her own promotion and for basically the advertising of the clothes that she's selling. So it's very natural for us to work together and sort of create different aesthetic images. And I love the way that she fucks my shit up.
Did Greg fuck your ideas up?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that it's impossible to, be in the same room as someone working on something and not, fuck each other up. So
this is a good kind of fucking each other up.
Yeah.
I love that.
I just also want to note that you have a paper and I don't have a paper, and this is a very different experience for both of us, because you know what's happening next, and I have no idea what's happening next.
I don't even know what's happening next.
Yeah, you got a paper.
Well, it's just ideas, but
I'm not saying it's unfair. It's just I was just trying to paint a picture for the audience,
Yeah.
That
I'm cheating is what you're trying to tell me.
Peter has a paper and I don't. Just saying.
Yeah, but your mind is very just I'm getting that from you. The things I write down on this paper, that it's gonna pull things out of you.
Next time I'm gonna bring a paper, is all I'm saying.
Do it,
Next
please.
time
Bring a script or something, because I want to see that.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. So let's talk a little bit about genre and your music. I think it's safe to say it's stylistically pop. So where would you what do you think of when you think of pop music? Because I get different answers from everybody.
Yeah, I guess pop music to me is a certain undeniable quality to it. And I think I use the metaphor of a joke a lot. If you tell a joke and somebody laughs, I mean, it's not a particularly voluntary response. If something's funny, you can't deny it, and so you laugh, and there's this physical response where it's okay, I got you because you laughed. Like, you can't deny that. Or something like, sports like basketball. Like, if someone makes a shot, you can't deny that happened. There's just like an undeniable element to scoring, to laughing, to pop music. I think there's an undeniable element where you're like, not only is this quote unquote good, which is the thing that maybe makes you not turn it off or change the station, but like, I need this. Like, it's an accompaniment to like my own life. So I think there's some sort of utility to it. And I also think something about it being utilizable in your life and being whatever pop music does to you, like sticks in your head or becomes this thing where you're like, I have to listen to it over and over again. There's like some other element to pop music that like makes it undeniable.
Like the melody, the catchiness of it.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Like it's a combination of a lot of different things. Sometimes maybe it's more utility than just the catchiness but like there's something undeniable about it. You can't deny it. If that makes sense.
Like, I can hum the melodies to your song without even knowing the lyrics, which is fantastic. And same with Sunny Day stuff. Like, I don't know what you're saying half the time, but I love the music and the stylistic approach to it. And, the whole shoegaze thing that's what attracts me to that small element of pop music.
Yeah.
But what really kind of fucks me up is the indie label. You've been called a contemporary indie artist. I still have no idea what that means. Like, literally, like, for me, indie is someone who's independent. But there's this stylistic indie style that I'm not sure where that comes from. I've been trying to understand that for years.
Yeah, I don't I think that indie, like the term rock and roll, which is pretty outdated now, is not, indie was like the best way to describe it 20 years ago. And then it was still a pretty good way to describe it 10 years ago. And now people are, like you, skeptical of what it even means because it doesn't actually describe anything. So I think that maybe people call me indie because I come from a lineage of indie, but like I don't think that in the present what I'm making is indie. Like, it's way more from like a lineage for me of like DIY, which is like what you have to do in order to get something done. So I'm not gonna like make a laundry list of like writing, producing, editing. It's just like, right, that's what you have to do to get something done. And that's just sort of what a lot of artists are doing. So we don't really need to describe it anymore as being independent or DIY because that is just the culture that we're living in. When
I think of stuff like rock and roll or hip hop music, right? Rock and roll, there's things that come with that. Guitars, bass, drums, right? Hip hop, beats, lyrics, rhymes, flows, cadences, all that stuff. With indie, it's like, what is that? You know what I mean?
Well, and even
folk, what is that really?
Yeah. Well, I think that we're just moving farther away from. I don't know. It's you can compare it to the way that we describe sexuality now too. We have a lot more words and a much better way of like really being able to understand like and express ourselves as humans today. It's better than it was like 10 years ago, 50 years ago. And I think that that's the way that like music is evolving too. Like, our vocabulary is expanding. And unfortunately, with the expanding of vocabularies, there's certain words that are going to become out of date, or just like, that is actually not the best word to use to describe this. So we're probably just going to have to retire that word because it just doesn't actually fit as many purposes as it used to. So I think indie is a word that we all still know. It's still like a tried and true way to get somewhere, the same way that like a concrete physical map is still like a tried and true way to find where you're going. But I think we have better ways to get to places now, or something that's more quickly expressible, like through different words. So I just think indie is yeah, it was the best way to describe something 20 years ago, and it's just becoming a descriptor of music that is from that time versus music that is of this time.
Yeah, and I guess if you talk about Stereolab to a music journalist, they'll probably say, "Oh, this is an indie rock band," right? But at least for me now, I try to find different ways to describe things, like different adjectives. Like I would just call it melodic psychedelic pop. Maybe they wouldn't agree, but that's what I look at it as. I wouldn't just slap, here's this label on your face, and here's this other label, and here's that other label. It's fine to have that, but there's certain. I think like I agree with you. We need to move on.
Well, also, if you're still listening to Stereolab right now, which I still do, you still do, to me, there is something undeniable then about that music that does make it more pop, because I don't know how to describe this. Like, so.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
So if you were talking about food from 20 years ago, it would sort of be really important to say like, hey, this tastes good and there's no MSG in it, because like everything had MSG in it. And now it would be really weird to say, hey, did you know that this poke bowl has no MSG in it? People would be like, why would there be MSG in this raw fish like salad bowl? You're like, I don't know. I mean, it's still true that there isn't. It's like, absolutely. But like, we all know enough about the time that we live in to know that like most everything doesn't have MSG in it anymore. So we don't have to say that. Does that make sense? I think that sort of is like what indie feels like to me is something that's already felt and understood. So we don't have to say it anymore, I guess. Like things don't need to be indie pop. It can just be pop. Things don't have to be indie rock. It can just be rock.
Yes, I totally agree. And last week, I was having a conversation with the Royal Vey about, what is dead, what's rock is dead, and what you're saying, these terms are outdated. I think that's it. How we knew this particular thing is now gone. Now that style of guitars, bass, and XYZ has evolved into whatever this band will bring to the table. Like A Sunny Day in Glasgow is a rock band, right? Mm-hmm. But if you hold it against any other band, they're so different, but they're both doing rock music, right? So I think it's up to the listener to try to understand what they're listening to or how they want to define it. I think that's where music is going to go in a couple of years. I don't think anything can really quote unquote die. Maybe fads die, but I don't think music stylistically can.
Well, right, we just have different words to describe it. I mean, yeah, again, the same way that like we describe conduct in a workplace in the 1950s now as misogynistic, whereas before it was just accepted. Understandings continue to evolve, and words are the meaning of words are changing around us all the time, and it's another practice of like, in the word indie has ever brought me great comfort. When I was living in Arizona, and I'm like, an indie band is coming to town, like, thank God, because a lot of people just skip Arizona. And so there is absolutely a love of the word indie that I can remember, but it's, for me, it's been just a process of letting that term go and just say, like, there was a time that I had with that word, and it's over, and like so many things will be over. Like, this is not the last thing that I'm going to let go of, like, in my life, So we can all let the word indie go, okay? We can just let it go. It's all right.
Yeah, and then like we were saying earlier, if you're not evolving, you're dying, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love that. You love basketball, right?
I do like basketball.
Because I see your IG stories. You're always at, the Barclays Center for
always at that best times of my life in 2017 were at Barclays. I mean, that's where I saw Kendrick. Truth. That's where I saw Jan. I was there.
Oh, man.
It was great.
I wanted to be there, but I think I was supposed to go away, but it didn't happen. And I didn't have money. So there's that one. And I think Ride was playing at the same time at Terminal 5, the same day.
You're a Terminal 5 show versus Kendrick at Barclays is, choices were made.
Yeah.
Choices were made. But you can get some great, like last minute, like cheap, like basketball tickets. And I've seen some like great pro wrestling shows there. So I
Same.
really dig in Barclays lately.
Me too. I was at the 25th anniversary of Monday Night Raw.
What?
With my
You went
brother.
to Raw 25?
Yes, I did.
Shut up.
It was
That's
awesome.
amazing. My favorite, I loved that Vince came back.
Yo.
That he did such a
Fantastic.
good job. I loved that little plaque they gave him.
Yeah.
And I want it.
That was awesome.
Want it for myself. And that's a thing, like when he did that 20 years ago, when he would say something, like, I did it on my own. Like, I was like, oh, I love that. And now that he does it, it's basically him playing the Vince McMahon hits, He's like, and I did it without any of you. And
Here comes Austin.
Yeah, you're like, still good. Keep doing it. Like,
Yep.
it's still good. That trope is still good. And there's a lot of tropes that the WWE could probably retire at this point, but that one's still good.
Yes, absolutely. I was at SummerSlam in August.
Damn, you got season tickets or?
No, I bought it like last minute, and I started working in radio, so it started paying off. So I was like, you know what? Let me treat myself. I worked very hard, so let me go to SummerSlam.
Let me treat myself to SummerSlam. That's the best
Absolutely.
thing that I've ever heard. Treat yourself to SummerSlam is probably a good hashtag to remember.
Yeah,
Do you have the WWE Network?
absolutely.
Give me your password.
Every wrestling fan should have that.
Share your password.
I'm not sharing my password here, but yeah, it's worth it. It's
It's the road to WrestleMania, It's the
Oh
time.
my god, yeah, I've been missing out. I missed Raw and SmackDown because I was working. I was on the air, so I have to rewatch it. I heard there was a crazy gauntlet match on Raw right before Elimination Chamber. Are you watching it? I think it's Sunday.
Yeah. I'm on the road. It's hard. It's hard when basketball is starting to get really good and
True.
wrestling's starting to get really good. Where's the time go?
Yeah.
But no, I'm excited, and I thought that I really enjoyed the Royal Rumble. I did not enjoy the
too.
KFC Colonel Rumble, but
Yo, at SummerSlam, I was there when Shawn Michaels came out as the Colonel. That was fantastic. I loved it.
I don't understand this cross branding, this cross pollination.
It's a corporation.
Yeah.
They're trying to get that bag any way they can.
Yeah, right. So Vince McMahon, he comes out, he plays the hits, still good. Like Ric Flair coming out and like at Royal Rumble to me was just like depressing. I was like, I just want to see him in the audience, like having a good time.
He was at the Rumble? Was
yeah.
he?
Yeah, he won the KFC Colonel Rumble.
Oh, right. Were you physically there?
No.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't there, no, but I watched it and I was like,
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
I was
know
like,
what you're talking
let
about now.
Rick just sit. Don't let him keep doing this. There was the same thing with The Undertaker. When he lost in WrestleMania 30, I was like, this is amazing. This is the best way to go out. And then he kept wrestling.
That was the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I first, when I saw him lose, I was shocked. But because it was the streak, right? But then I heard, I think it was Mick Foley or I forgot who said it, who kind of rung the bell in my head. If anybody's going to beat the streak, it has to be Brock Lesnar.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
The Beast. I think it was great writing and amazing delivery. And then they were like, never mind. Let's ruin it. Let's just ruin it.
And he came back. But every time he came back, it was more uneventful. Bray Wyatt. And who was after that? Roman Reigns.
Everyone.
It's just like, okay, they should have done Sting. Undertaker and Sting. That should have been the blow off.
No, I don't
Why
want to
not?
see two old men.
I'm saying at that time, like when Sting was there
Yeah,
facing Triple H, that should have been Sting and Undertaker.
I think Sting got hurt. No, I think Brock beating Undertaker was the best. I loved WrestleMania 30. I think it was amazing.
I did too. Yeah.
I'm gonna watch 34, but 30 is gonna be hard to beat.
Yeah, I loved. I've been thinking about it all week. WrestleMania 24, 10 years ago. Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, Edge, Undertaker, amazing. Floyd Mayweather, Big Show. That was something else.
Those were the days. The days of indie.
yeah. Do you watch NXT?
I do. Yeah, not as much anymore, just because, right? It comes in cycles in terms of like being busy. You can't always tune in all the time. But yeah, I'm very. I was watching it when like Shinsuke like first got introduced and so excited about him. I really, really love him. I really love the idea of strong style.
Yeah.
If I wrestled, I would hope that
And someone other than, a white man at the top.
Yeah, yeah.
I love to see someone like
Oh my God, I
Shinsuke.
hope he creams AJ Styles.
Yeah, and I love AJ.
Oh,
But I hope
I
Shinsuke
do
wins.
not. I do
You don't
not.
love AJ?
No, that
What?
hair.
Get out of here.
I'll get out of here.
Oh my God, he's the man.
No.
He's phenomenal. It's an art form watching him perform.
He's good at wrestling, but being good at wrestling is not always what my favorite thing is.
Right, you
about
like
a
character
wrestler.
and appearance and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and,
Totally
and
feel that.
innovation, and
He's innovative stylistically.
yeah.
So you played Union Pool in September, and you played new songs. So does that mean that is going to be another Showtime Goma project?
There will be another record for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got a lot of new songs, and yeah, still kind of deciding where they're gonna come out. Taking documentation, recording, making a record into consideration, and thinking about all of the things. Like, will some of them only exist live? Will some of them be for a play? Will some of them be for a record? Still deciding, but writing a lot of new stuff.
What about Sunny Day? You guys
Sunny
have a new
Day,
record?
we have a new record in the works, and it's definitely more than half done. So hopefully by the I don't want to say, but it's we've made some like really deep progress on it, and it's new Sunny Day record soon.
I'm still listening to the last split EP you did. Mm-hmm. Oh man, so beautiful.
Thank you.
So beautiful. And I found out about it last minute a couple of years ago, because usually I get this kick, like, what are artists that I haven't heard from in a while up to? And usually they have something that came out that I never knew about, like the Ravenettes. They when they dropped Pay Ahi in 2014, I had no idea. It was a surprise. Mm-hmm. I was thinking, like, what are the Ravenettes up to? So I Googled them. Boom, this new album. And it turns out to be their best album, my opinion.
All right.
You got any more Showtime shows coming up?
I have a Showtime show. Yes, I do. Let me
do your homework. Yeah, you see, you got something too. I'm not the only one that came prepared.
Great. I just want to make sure I'm about to say out loud what it is, but then I don't want to be wrong. That's so horrible that I don't want to be wrong about it. But yeah, this is the next. I've been doing so many live performances recently, which has been really, really great. But come
And you know what's
on.
funny? How I found out about your project, I was looking into what Sunny Day has in store for the future. And then on the Sunny Day website, they told people to go listen to your album. And that's what I did. And you know what? I was a little skeptical, because usually some solo projects from certain bands that I love aren't the best, but your album blew me away.
Thank you.
Yeah, stunning. Loved it.
Thanks so much. Okay, so here it is. I got the info. Monday, March 12th at the little at Dixon Place. Do you know that spot?
No.
It's like a theater.
Where?
Yeah, where is the exact? It's 161A Christie Street between Delancey and Rivington. So it's right by the.
It's right off the bridge.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know that area.
So yes, Little Theater at Dixon Place on March 12th. I'll be one of the people presenting, and I'm gonna do a cool set in like a cool theater there. So,
oh man, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be really good.
That's not on a Saturday, is it?
It's
Please
on a
tell me.
Monday.
Okay, I might be able to make that, because usually I work on weekends and certain weekdays. So thank you, Jen, for an amazing conversation. I was so looking forward to this, and it met my expectations.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
Happy to satisfy.
Where can people reach you on the internet?
Oh, yeah. You can follow me on Instagram at Jen Goma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jengo_Ma. And then, yeah, I'm on Facebook. And, yeah, see you out there.
All right, guys, this has been level 4 of My Little Underground. I'm Peter A. Please subscribe on iTunes and Podomatic, and check out my website, peteraradio.us. And thanks to the good people over at Continental Recording Studios, Long Island City. I'll see you guys. Take care.